Okay, so thanks again for joining. Welcome to today's session in the MSDynamicsWorld.com Spring 2014 CRM webcast series. I'm Jason Gumpert, and we are joined today by two experts from Avanade, North American Director of Contact Center Solutions, Ryan McGann, and Business Analyst Annie McLaughlin. They are here to share Avanade's latest views on the connected customer journey and the CRM technology that can help companies achieve their goals in customer experience and customer loyalty today. So as we get started, I just want to add that we do invite you to add your feedback and ask questions during Annie and Ryan's presentation. Please feel free to use the Q&A tab that you see on the webcast session here on the right side, and we will also try to get to some questions at the end. So without further delay, please allow me to welcome our first presenter today, Ryan McGann. Ryan, are you there?
I am. Thank you very much, Jason.
All right, so you should have control now.
All right, let me share my desktop, and we will get started. Okay, so just a quick introduction. My name is Ryan McGann, and I'm the Director of our Contact Center Solutions in North America. And so for the last 7 years or so, I've been working exclusively with Microsoft Dynamics CRM, starting out as a business analyst, then a project manager, and then a delivery lead, leading customers through the implementation process. And then I switched over to what we call a business solution advisor role here at Avanade, which is where we help organizations that are potentially looking at leveraging Microsoft Dynamics and how they can do that for just about every use case you can imagine. And so my role now is to lead the go-to-market strategy and the project implementations for all of our customers that use Microsoft Dynamics CRM for contact center solutions, but really for customer service all up. And I'm joined today by Annie McLaughlin. Annie's a business analyst, as Jason mentioned, with our CRM service line. And so she's responsible for the functional consulting for our customers that are implementing Microsoft Dynamics CRM, establishing or leveraging best practice in the industry to automate processes, to bolster user adoption, and ultimately get them successful on the platform. And so we'll hear from Annie in a bit here. But what I wanted to do first was expand on this notion of omni-channel customer service. So just a quick couple of slides, and then we'll get into a day in the life, really, of a customer journey and how that can be handled in a software solution that's based on Microsoft Dynamics CRM. But the first thing I want to establish is what is omni-channel customer service. And I think one of the terms that gets thrown around a lot is omni-channel versus multi-channel. So today we're going to discuss that there is a difference between the two. A significant difference, and one power solutions much better and much more holistically than the other. So if you think about expectations today as a customer, right, they are across what we think of as channels, right? So it's, as a customer, interact with me and interact with me where I am. And so the ability to do that is cross-channel customer engagement. It might be on social media, it might be on a website, it might be on the good old-fashioned telephone. Right? And the ability to interact back and forth is multi-channel customer experience. So if you build on that and take it one step further, omni-channel refers to handling those multiple channels in a single and centralized fashion so that you can see what I'm going to call the new 360-degree view of a customer. Right? You're able to follow their journey across those channels, interact with them from a single location, but also understand them from a single location. And the result of that is really defining the customer experience that is digital and omni-channel that we think of today. So if you think about the progression of how we got there, and I'll relate this back to Dynamics CRM, which I know and love so well. I'm sure we all do on the call here. Back in 2011, when CRM 2011 came out, everyone was really excited about dashboards, right? And one of the greatest components of those dashboards was the sales pipeline and the sales funnel. Because now, in the software, you could track how your sales and how your customer service cases were moving through a business process. So they started at the top with a qualified lead. They worked down through a closed opportunity. And on the case side, they did the same thing. Whether they were new, they were being resolved, they were awaiting customer information, and then finally they were closed. And so if you progress now 3 years into the future, right, while that's still a great widget to put on a dashboard, the way that we engage with customers has changed dramatically. And so it's no longer we're identifying the beginning of a potential sale and moving it through to a purchase, or we're identifying the beginning of a potential customer issue and we're moving it through resolution. But it's actually this continuous model of where somewhere along the line, the organization is identifying that a customer has expressed interest. They're then tracking the purchase of that service or product or usage, and then they're monitoring the experience with that product or service throughout its usage for a number of reasons, right? Whether it's upsell or cross-sell in the future, or whether it's to understand the impact of that customer satisfaction with the organization because it affects other potential customers. And so as if that continuous model wasn't complicated enough to try and track as an organization, there are 2 layers to it, right? There's the conventional one where the company, your brand, is controlling the content in those channels. But then there's an outer loop to that, which is what we think of as open content and open channels. So if you think about, what is that? It's everything that is the digital world today, right? So self-research, social media, unstructured data, unstructured content, conversations that are happening in the ether, right, or the intraweb, right? Those are all things that are critical to not just a buying pattern, but also to an engagement model for continued customer experience. And so as behaviors are changing, right, so are expectations. And that outer loop is not controlled by your business, right? So there's a hidden sales cycle, right? There are potential dangers to your brand or to your organization. And if you don't keep up with those things, then bad things are going to happen. So if we take that perspective and we apply to it, we'll talk about sales and service, and then we're really going to drill into service. On the sales side, the buying process begins before your organization knows it, now more than ever. Right? So people are doing research all the time. In fact, this is a webinar. I would guess some of you are doing it right now, and not necessarily about Avanade or Dynamics CRM. Right? So I'm not going to throw a poll out there or try and find out just how many of you are not paying attention right now. But I mean, I'll take a real world example. I was doing this yesterday. So I was on the receiving end of a webinar, right? And I've got 2 big, beautiful monitors in front of me right now, as I did then. And while the webinar was on one screen, I was guilty of multitasking and doing some research about some landscape design products on the other, right? Because it's that time of year, because I've got a fairly new house that I've got to get in tip-top condition. And so I was looking through just about everything that Bing and Google could throw my way, whether it was actual product reviews, whether it was just pictures of other people's landscapes for houses that were similar to mine, right? And that is the beginning of a buying pattern, because I'm going to stumble upon a product or a company or a service that is going to ultimately lead to a direct engagement in the conventional way that we think about it. But there's a lot happening that that organization doesn't know about. So on the service side, the same thing is true, right? If you take the same kind of example, I bought some grass seed last week, and the grass isn't coming up like they said it would. I'm going to go to the internet and try and figure out either what I did wrong or what other problems people have had that are similar to mine. And I'm going to try and resolve the issue first, right? And it's human nature, but now more than ever, we've got the ability to do that with digital tools. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? It's actually a really good thing, because if you as an organization can control or at least monitor that information, that content, and the engagement with that content, it's deflection 101, right? So from a customer service perspective, we're lowering costs to serve our customers and improving their experience, and that's all a really good thing. But achieving that can be very difficult, right? And so what you do and how you handle that, right, those things are many. And so if you think about how your business is impacted by this change in behavior and how you're capitalizing on that change, if you're capitalizing on that change and how you're going to measure if you're capitalizing on that change. Right? And there's a lot of things that you need to start paying attention to because you can't ignore that external loop. So what we do at Avanade, right, is try and build solutions that make organizations successful in a couple of approaches or a couple of facets to this behavior change. And so I'm not gonna go through all of these, right? But I think there are a couple of things that are baseline, understood by everybody on the call, right? So social is in that 360-degree view now, right? And being able to present information that's structured and unstructured needs to be done, right, in a mobile fashion as well as the traditional, right? And that's mobile for customers, but also mobile for users, right? So you can engage with information when you need to, how you want to, that kind of thing. But as you start to expand the universe of customer engagement, then you need to start paying attention to things like how can you automate baseline processes, eliminate duplicate entry, right? Eliminate the pains from a customer perspective so that you're creating that better experience and doing it in ways that are giving you better insight into trends, right? So there's a whole host of baseline reporting that you need to start thinking about. But then there's more that you can do with analytics. So you can start to think about how you can score your customers and segment them based on aggregated information that you never had before. And then you need to make that information easy to digest for your organization so that ultimately you're giving a better user experience, right? You're keeping your customers and you're ultimately being successful from a revenue perspective, right? And not just about mitigating cost, but creating more positive experiences wherever they happen so that you can ultimately generate more revenue. So again, we'll take this back to sales and service, and this time I'm really just going to drill into service and think about in the contact center and your customer service organization, right? This notion of high-performance contact centers, which one of our parent organizations, Accenture, really builds an offering around, means not just that you can reduce operating expenses by trying to practice deflection and engaging in these channels in a omni-channel approach, right? But there's also a bit of change in your organization that has to happen that can result in better or transformed agent engagement and improved outcomes overall. So if you think about all these changes that are happening, as customers are hitting the self-service easy button, right? They're going to websites and portals and social media for help. That's really taking the easy part of the traditional contact center's workload away. And that's a good thing, right? Because we talked about that lowering of cost to serve. But what it's also doing is making the remaining work for your agents more difficult. But it's also providing the potential to be more rewarding if done right. So as you start to see that outer loop of unstructured and uncontrolled engagement start to grow, the inner loop becomes much more critical, right? Because those interactions are happening fewer and farther apart. But when you do have them, it's important to capitalize on them. Because if you can make a positive impression and a positive customer experience out of that interaction, then you've got the ability to take control back in that continuous loop and start to guide interactions moving forward, guide the shape and the existence of that brand for that particular customer. So how do we do these kind of things? We are very much loyal to Microsoft here at Avanade. So beyond Microsoft Dynamics CRM and providing sales and service solutions on that platform, when you think about all things that we're talking about now around social media and analytics and scoring customers based on segmentation, on their overall value and where they exist in these different channels, you need to start to think about beyond Microsoft Dynamics CRM, what else do we need to do to create solutions that are going to empower this omni-channel approach? And so those things are, as we talked about, data and analytics, deep system integration to bring information to the forefront, to offload the mundane processes for your organization's end users. But then there's also this concept of experience design that we're big on here at Avanade. And so if you think about experience design, it's more than just what the user experience is going to be, whether that's internal or external. But it's actually flipping the lens around on how you implement solutions so that you're viewing what needs to be done from the customer's perspective, right? How do I, as a customer, want to be interacted with? What are my expectations for different types of business use cases? Right? If you think about it from that way, then you start to provide a lot more value on the solutions that you implement in your organization to service those customers, because you're not doing what you think you need to do, you're thinking what they need to be done. And so what we're going to do today is walk you through a day in the life of a customer so that we can all get on the same page with what's really going through the head of a customer. And for this example, we're going to use a brand called Ultiva. So it's a fictional company. It's Avnod's version of a Contoso for those that have taken the Microsoft training. And in this example, Ultiva is going to be a wireless carrier or service provider for cell phones, digital devices, etc. And so what we're going to do is walk through how we can provide a simplified agent desktop for a contact center user that unifies multiple applications that they have to deal with on a regular basis, but also delights the customer by ensuring that the agent has all the information that Ultiva could and should know about them, regardless of where that information happened. Right? We're taking the expectation of the customer, we're ingraining it into the solution. And as a result, we're reducing the overall cost to operate, and we're making our agents more proficient at a more rapid clip, and we're keeping them by engaging them and showing them how they're benefiting not only their own careers, but their organizations. And so what you're going to see here is not necessarily Microsoft Dynamics CRM out of the box. Right? When we think about experience design, there's oftentimes a reason to build a layer on top of that powerful platform that is Microsoft Dynamics CRM, but to do it in a way that's achieving these goals of customer engagement and customer experience through Omni-channel approach, as well as a whole host of other complex concepts. So we're going to show you that solution, but first we're going to tie the reason for that solution in a real-world example, right, that kind of ties all the things I've just talked about with all the things we're going to show you in software. And we're going to do that by introducing and walking through the day in the life of a actual, I say actual, fictitious customer named Anna Vidal. And only by kind of understanding the customer itself are we going to be able to take that walkthrough and appreciate all the things that need to go into a solution that follows the customer throughout channels and provides that very relevant 360-degree view. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Annie McLaughlin, who's going to play Anna Vidal.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can, Annie, go ahead.
Awesome. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Anna Vidal. I'm 29 years old, and I live in Chicago with my husband and 2 small children. I'm a PR executive for a very well-known Chicago professional sports team. I love my job very much, but it does occupy most of my time. My job requires me to be constantly on the go and connected with people all over the country. My life is a never-ending stream of multitasking, from emailing business partners to setting up meetings with potential clients to checking in with my kids' various nannies. I absolutely need to be plugged in all day, every day, especially if an emergency comes up with my kids and I have to leave to pick them up. I consider myself to be very tech-savvy. It's almost a requirement that comes with the job. The iPhone has made my life much easier because it allows me to do multiple things at one time by using apps. I have an app for everything: emailing, texting, photo sharing, banking, fitness, travel, cooking, sports reporting, and even a nanny cam. I group message my best friend every day and constantly check Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, both for professional and personal reasons. With so many apps on the market, I always make sure to do my research before purchasing anything. I consider my time, money, and business very valuable, and I will not invest in things that cannot support my very active lifestyle. It goes without saying that the device I use is the most essential piece of all. My cell phone holds my life together, which means that I need a service that is always there for me and does exactly what I need. I've been an Ultiva customer for about 10 years now, ever since I got my first cell phone. I have an immense brand loyalty to Ultiva because they understand how essential their services are to my personal and professional life. I'm never worried about not having service because Ultiva really is that good. They always keep me informed with their latest products, and their customer service reps are very knowledgeable and understand that I'm a tech-savvy, valuable customer to them. Every time I walk into an Ultiva store, I'm greeted as if I'm a friend. So today, I finally had a chance to go into an Ultiva store and upgrade to the iPhone 5S. The salesman told me about a few additional add-on items I could purchase, like the international plan, but I decided just to upgrade my current plan. I also asked him about adding a second line for my husband, but decided against that as well for the time being. The sales reps were great, as always, and merged all my photos, emails, and documents onto my new phone within 15 minutes. They even remembered to ask how my kids were doing. I absolutely love how they remember those tiny details about me. I'm so excited I finally got this upgrade. And now I have finally arrived. I can't believe I'm in Barbados for our annual adult spring break. It's nice to have some time away from the kids. Of course, my husband and I booked this trip using our favorite hotel chain and airline. We love using rewards points to take vacations like this every year. This is a much-needed getaway from our crazy work schedules and the freezing cold weather at home. Nothing better than reading my Kindle on the beach. Oh, I just remembered. I wanted to purchase that dress for Sarah's wedding in June. Good thing I have it saved on my Nordstrom online shopping cart. Nordstrom is my absolute favorite place to shop because their customer service is impeccable. And of course, the free returns on every item. They often send me personalized notes and exclusive invitations to shopping events. With my awesome iPhone 5S, I can purchase this dress in the blink of an eye. That was easy. It should be at my doorstep by the time I arrive home on Sunday evening. I should probably transfer some money to my checking account. But first I need to download the American Express banking app on my new iPhone. I have owned many credit cards throughout the years, but American Express is my favorite because of their customer service. I actually had my wallet stolen on this trip last year, and American Express called me within 10 minutes of the theft and informed me of the suspicious charges. When I inquired about what happened, they were extremely understanding and immediately canceled the card and cleared all the charges. I was so grateful for that, and I've learned to be more cautious while vacationing. Well, now that I've downloaded that app and transferred my funds over, I think I need to purchase the rest of my husband in my Halloween costumes. It's never too early to start planning for the holidays. I remember looking at some items on Amazon. Oh, look, there they are. I love how Amazon saved my recent searches and suggests items that I may like. I order almost everything off Amazon, especially with my work schedule and traveling so much. Amazon makes it so easy to order household items and have them automatically shipped every month. Plus, their 2-day shipping really is unbeatable. Would you look at that? It looks like it's an upgrade for the Starbucks Gold Member app. I absolutely love this app. It's one of my favorites. I don't even own a coffee machine at home anymore because I simply buy my coffee at Starbucks every day. And using my app makes it so simple to pay. Although Starbucks isn't necessarily the best coffee I've ever had, I will always return there because they have the best customer service. They always remake my drink if I don't like it, no questions asked. The employees are universally friendly and considerate, even to my kids. Plus, this app really just can't be beat. Oh, I love this song that just came on my phone. That reminds me, I totally forgot the new Taylor Swift album came out today. I need to download that right now. Click, click, downloading, and done. I love how fast this phone is. I use iTunes for all my music because the songs easily sync with all my Apple devices, which is extremely convenient, especially when my kids are always using my iPad, but I can still listen to the same music on my phone. Oh, I see my boss just emailed me. Nope, that can wait till Monday. What the heck? I just opened my phone bill, and for some crazy reason, I'm charged $550. This comes at such a shock. Ultiva says they sent me emails, notifications, and texts about this, but I swear I never got any of them. How could this have happened? I'm going to have to call in and speak with someone about this excessive amount. There is absolutely no way I'm going to pay this crazy fee. When I tried to call into Ultiva, customer service is just taking too long. Don't they know I don't have time to remain on hold for 15 minutes? I have a job, kids, a life. I'm definitely leaving them a bad user survey for this. This is just ridiculous and not something I would expect from Ultiva, a brand I've always used. I have a right to receive some decent customer service for how loyal of a customer I've been to Ultiva throughout the years. When I call back, they better pair me with a service rep who understands this problem because I cannot afford to waste any more time on this ridiculous issue. Ultiva needs to step it up or they're going to lose an extremely valuable customer.
All right, Annie, thank you. I think that was too easy for Andy to play Anna. There's maybe some similarities there. But so if you think about what can we extract from that, right? There's a couple of things that stick out, right? One is that this particular customer is all about milking brands for everything that they can do for her, right? So she's very loyal, she's very digital, right? We saw that through a number of real-world brands and organizations. But more than anything, right, she feels entitled, right? There's a sense of entitlement for perks, for customer service, for being treated a certain way. Right? She talks about how she loved Altiva when she got her new phone. Right? And if you think about that act of purchasing something and the kind of the euphoria that's established for a customer at that moment, it can all be erased at the drop of a dime, right? So Anna was going to leave Altiva because of one bill that didn't align with her expectations. So this is really, this customer service interaction that's about to happen when she calls in is really a defining moment in this relationship, right, that's continuously evolving between the two of them. So when she calls in, right, Altiva can use what they know about her across channel and do the right thing, right? And we say that from the perspective of Anna. So they should know and handle accordingly this interaction by knowing that she's a long-time customer, right? Very valuable. And that she's a tech-savvy person, right? She doesn't need somebody that can guide her through how to turn her phone on and off, right? But somebody who's familiar with the intricacies of what she has purchased, right? The specific device, as well as the plan that she's using. They should know that she's already called in about a bill, right? Maybe she had to go because her kids were yelling or she got disconnected in a subway. But the fact of the matter is that what she thinks is an excessive bill needs to be dealt with. We need to remediate the bad survey result, turn this back into a positive relationship by predicting, right, at the end of the day, that this is an irate customer that needs super customer service. So the way that we do that is by treating her then more than a number that comes into a contact center, but by looking at her as a customer. And with that, we want to find a person that matches her needs. Right? When she's more than a customer, she's got expectations around all those things that we talked about. And so we need to match available agents based on who knows her device, who knows her plan, who is trained on the nuances of international travel and how that affects bills that may seem excessive and how to handle excessive bills, and that can ultimately resolve her specific issues. And so as we filter that list down in our solution, we arrive at Mark. Right? So for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to play Mark and talk about how I'm going to use this solution to do my job, right, and make life great for me and hopefully for Anna. So a couple of things about myself, right, Mark? So I know the iPhone 5S inside and out. I've taken training on unlimited plans. I know about international travel. I have high customer satisfaction scores, especially for bill inquiries. I even took a class in psychology, so I know how to diffuse situations if customers aren't in the best of moods. So when I receive this call, I'm going to see exactly what is pertinent to this call. Right? I can see that Anna just called in last month, but I can also see that she got a bill via her email and the details of that bill. And I can also see that she's definitely calling about an overage in her data, right? So all this information is being brought together for me so that I have an easy understanding of what this call is going to be about. It looks like she bought a phone at a store, and I can see that in-store activity exactly from what I'm looking at here. So after the initial screen, now I get into the details about Anna as I start to greet her. And I can see all the information that makes it really easy for me to focus on her. I can see where her average bill is, and then I can see that this latest one has been a little bit higher, right? And because everything's on one desktop, it's easy for me to digest that information and be able to speak to her about what she already knows, right, and what she expects that I know as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is move into her actual bill. And I can see exactly what she's seeing and the fact that this is higher than it normally is. I can see that I can tell that she's upset. And so what I can do is walk through a step-by-step process to make this easy and painless for her. And so it's going to guide me through exactly what I need to do in a couple of simple steps and make it very easy for me to take care of the processes behind the scenes. It's nice that I also have additional context in terms of a knowledge base, right? So it's showing me information that it's showing me information that is relevant based on what it is that we're discussing right now. So as we move beyond that, I know that she's been a long-time customer, right? She did use the phone overseas. She's not happy about those charges. But we tell her that we can update her data plan with a simple credit, right? So we can try and resolve this issue for her. And I know that she's going to be happy with that. And she agrees. And she also agrees that upgrading a plan, because she has been using a lot of data recently, right, is probably in her best interests. So I can go ahead and take care of that very easily as well. And I know I don't have to keep her on the phone while she's waiting for anything, and all that stuff will just get taken care of in the right system at the right time. I can keep thinking about what else I can do for Anna. So it's great that I never have to ask her for information. It's always right there where I need it. I know that she's going to be happy about that. And then the other thing that I can do is that I can see other offers that might pertain to her, right? But we already know that we did the plan upgrade. We talked about how she doesn't really go international that much. So this was just kind of a unique situation. So we're not going to necessarily try and talk about those plans with her. And we're going to save the home service for another day, because while we've capitalized on the situation, I know that she's happy, and so I want to let her go. And so as we move forward and get off the call, I ask if she's resolved all of her issues. She says, absolutely, we have. I ask her to give a survey. She says she will, and it's going to be 5 stars, and that's great. And then I can move on. Right, so I've taken all of that information that Anna knew that I should have, and I've put it to good use, and I've made her really happy. So once I'm done with that call, then I can start to move on and see how the results of that call have actually helped me and helped my boss understand that I'm doing a great job. So I can see that I got a soft skills badge, right? Just like if I'm at home playing my Xbox and I get through like a 50th race on a driving game, I get certain achievements. I get that here too, and I can see it. My friends I work with can see it. I can see that I'm getting close to another badge. But I can also see that there's some training that I have to do, right? So I know my iPhones inside and out, but here's kind of a reminder that I need to know a little bit more about the Nokia phones as well, so that I can start to get some of those types of calls and help other people. So when I move on, the next thing I'm going to do is get an instant message from one of my coworkers. And so it looks like my friend Rachel could use some assistance. I'm always happy to help her out. When you look through, the quick conversation, she's saying that she needs some help turning off in-app purchases. Right? That's not something that we can do as Ultiva, but I know the iPhone and I know how to help. So I'm able to collaborate with Rachel, tell her what I know about how to go into the phone as a user, go into settings, general restrictions, enable restrictions, put in a passcode so that our kids don't buy any more things that rack up that bill. And then once I'm done with that, right, I'm going to go to my work list and look at what else needs to be done. And this is all easy for me to see in one place. Next thing I have to do is call back Jason, right? He recently got a phone upgraded, so I want to make sure, as a good steward of Ultiva, that he's happy with that. So before I do it, I'm going to go into his record, and I can actually see that the phone shipped a few days ago. He received it today. It's fresh in his hands. So I'm going to call him now and do all that I can, right, to create a good experience for Jason. So I do that. He's happy with the phone. I get off that call, and I can focus on what else needs to be done. Right, so there's a couple things I need to do. There's some more outbound calls. I can see that one of our other customers here, Micah, has posted something on Facebook that she couldn't answer. So I can go in here and respond back to her. It'll go through the appropriate approvals, but I can focus on helping customers and not have to worry about all that and going somewhere else. I've also got a bunch of different work that I need to do. I can do it all from here. So now that we've done that, right, if you think about Microsoft Dynamics CRM and how that's powering everything that we've just witnessed, there's still, you know, a role and a place for the application as we all know it and love it, and that might be for a manager, right? So a manager can come in, they can see, you know, the current agent workload of all the open activities for Mark and all the other people they supervise, and they can see a breakdown, right, by channel, by type of activity, and the priority of all of those things kind of wrapped up in one nice picture. They can see what's been completed, right, just by doing a quick pivot on their dashboard to look at closed activities. They can see the call that was just completed there. And this omni-channel view, they can start to understand workload for customers in that omni-channel environment. Right, so another way to look at this is in the good old-fashioned Microsoft Dynamics CRM contact record, we've got everything you would expect to see in terms of contact information, demographics. We can also see the activities here, right, in the back end through that multi-channel approach to see here are the phone calls, here are the tweets, right, here are the calls going in, the activity on the website, the fact that there was an in-store appointment a few months ago. We can see all of that cross-channel engagement in an omni-channel view of the customer, as well as everything we'd expect in terms of the lines and usage and some of the cross-sell opportunities that are really just CRM 101. Right? But the way that we approach each one of those interactions is also happening in Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Right? So that whole notion of routing the right customer to the right agent is happening through logic that's deep in Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So by scoring not only the customer, but some of the details of the relationship with that customer and their value to Altiva, as well as some of the aggregated analytics on how much they've used our product so that we can tell ultimately what sort of value we can derive or what sort of risks exist with this potential and upcoming interaction. We can do some logic within Dynamics CRM to figure out who the ideal call owner is, like Mark, as we discussed, who a backup might be if Mark can't take the call, and also ultimately who took that call. All right, so we're using Microsoft Dynamics CRM to power everything that we've just witnessed. And so in doing so, there's that element of predictive routing to get the right resource at the right time to deliver the right message across all channels in an omni-channel approach. Right, there's a notion of collaboration because we want to make the most of each of these interactions. And then there's a way to incorporate that into a positive user experience for our agents as well, right? So that it's easier for them to do their job and they're happier doing it because they're not bogged down by duplicate data entry, right? We have integrations that handle all of that. They've got assistance when they need it. And it's all happening in one place in a true omni-channel unified desktop. So hopefully we did a kind of end-to-end explanation there of you know, where we see Microsoft Dynamics CRM being used in customer service in this omni-channel world, if you want to call it that. Some good examples of at least one good example of a customer that's representing those items, and then how we engage with them in the solution itself. So with that, Jason, I think that's what we had planned, and we might have some Q&A time.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, we definitely have some time for Q&A. As you sort of close out your screen share there, folks should see the Q&A block on the lower right part of the screen there. We do invite you to ask your questions or even share your experiences. I'd be interested to hear what some of the companies, people from companies on the phone here would have as experiences of either excellent customer service that they've experienced or maybe that they've been able to provide. I would love to sort of hear your thoughts on some of those areas. So please do enter your questions now. And yeah, Ryan and Annie, thanks so much for both the entertaining demo and the information.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm just looking for questions here. So one question: what technologies do you see being best leveraged for knowledge management and some of the tools for internal versus external customer self-service?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's uber relevant in the last couple of months in the Microsoft world. So traditionally, what we've done is, so we implement Microsoft only, unless a customer is using something else, and then we can integrate it to it. So I mean, there's certainly a bunch of industry leaders for knowledge management, but specific to Microsoft, right? In a vacuum, we would propose something like SharePoint, right? Because you can do a lot of wiki type features to create content, and there's a workflow to curate it, and then there's the ability to publish it internally and externally. What we've kind of been attached to recently is the Parature tool that was acquired by Microsoft. And so Parature does a lot that Microsoft Dynamics CRM didn't do a few months ago, and knowledge is really one of its key features. So the ability to create content is great, right, and take it through that approval process. But then it's got all this ability to showcase the right content across channel and in context as well, right? And whether that's internal or external. So you're able to not only surface that information on Facebook, on a public portal site, and internal to the agent, but then you're also able to kind of arrange it in a way that maximizes deflection, and that's like built into the tool. So when you deploy Parature as part of your customer service solution, you can configure your website to provide like an easy answer functionality. So even if someone is going in to create a case through a portal, it's showing them based on the data they enter about the topic for the case and the product or the subject. It's actually showing them the articles that are related to those characteristics. So even if they didn't want to do a search, it's still being presented to them, and they have to kind of scroll past it to submit the case. So in that case, you're kind of getting the best of both worlds in terms of surpassing their expectations, but also lowering the cost to serve. And it's something that used to take a lot of work to do in SharePoint and a custom portal, but now it's kind of out of the box.
All right, great. We have a question in here. What contact center platform do you use for workforce management, for voice recording, screen capture, call quality analytics?
So I would love to toe the Microsoft line here and say that you can do those things in Link, and we actually have an asset that is integrated Link Voice, Enterprise Voice, into our agent desktop. What we found most of the time is that those aspects of solutions are already in-house with the companies that we work with, and we're integrating to them. And it's the market leaders that you expect, right? Nice for call recording, for workload management, right? There's everything under the sun. But everything now is API friendly, and so we can integrate to it into Dynamics to do some of that predictive routing that we talked about using the characteristics in those apps.
All right. What about tracking of metrics, either at the agent level or at the management level, against some of the new initiatives that maybe a company would put in place to boost their customer service experience? Can you speak to maybe either some of the common ones or ways that people should be identifying metrics that are really key when you're making these investments?
Yeah. I think there's two parts to that, right? The first is specific to an agent, and then the other one is to the manager, the supervisor. And on the agent side, I mean, you can do a lot, right, in Dynamics, and we've got a lot of baseline like dashboard widgets for first call resolution, an average handle time, and resolution rate by channel, right? And so those are all like a great baseline. But what we found is with the agent, right, that's only giving them kind of the stick, right, to slap them and say lower your average handle time or focus here, focus there, as opposed to the carrot, which is where a lot of that gamification stuff comes into play, where we can say either you're going to get badges or you're going to get points. And the way that you accumulate those, you can actually adapt to the context of a business scenario, right? So on a Monday, when the contact center is getting a ton of calls from over the weekend, right, and all the things that might happen, think about like a cell phone provider or a telco or something. Right, Mondays are high volume days, right? So then the points are get on the phone, get off the phone, resolve the issues. But on a Wednesday, when it's a lot slower, you can change the mix of how you get points, right? So where now it's much more about the customer satisfaction scores or the number of upsell or cross-sell items that you're able to address, right, and kind of check the boxes as you go through that call script to get more points, right? So you can actually weight those things so that at the end of the day, I, as a user, feel like I'm doing a good job based on the points I get, but from an organizational perspective, I'm only getting the points for the things that are really the drivers that we're focusing on across the business. And then on the on the supervisor side, it's one of the great things about Dynamics, right? If you tile this in as we like to kind of present to customers for an art of the possible, is that you've got a lot of power in how Dynamics works, right? So from that dashboard I was on, I can look at open activities. I can pivot a chart by, past due and owner, and then I can take a bunch of tasks that are follow-up or non-live interactions, and I can reassign them to somebody that doesn't have any, right? So those types of interactive workload management tools that come with Dynamics are where we find more value for a supervisor, and kind of consulting them on how to use the system than just how do I build a report that shows me average handle time, because that's really easy.
All right. Here's an interesting one. Do you have any use cases for predictive analytics?
Yeah, I think, so we talked about one, well, actually two. If you think about in our use case that we demonstrated, there was that notion of predicting what a call was going to be about. And so in that scenario, right, like I can call in and call 1-800-ALTIVA, and then I can hit 4 for billing, and that's not predictive, right? You know I'm calling about billing. But taking that context and adding it to the other information we have around usage, right, for data specifically, right, I can start to create types of messages or types of resolution steps based on what the customer has entered and what we know about that customer for resolution steps, right? So things you saw in those steps for resolving the issue. The first was credit the account. The second one was upgrade the plan, and then the third was international. That's an element that's predictive, right? Those aren't going to be the same every time somebody calls in and hits 4 for billing. Those are going to be based on cases that have closed and the actions that have been taken for customers that are similar to this one and characteristics of data that are similar to this one. What are the steps that end with the most positive customer set? And then the other one around predictive is just that upsell at the end, right? So because we're not going to show the same options to everybody on home service bundling for for home cable as we are for maybe somebody else that's in a different segment that we're going to focus on accessories, right, like earpieces, right? So based on demographic, if they're of a certain age bracket, we might showcase accessories for a phone, right? They're trendy for youth, whereas for that middle adult range, we're going to showcase home ownership type products, and then for the opposite age of the age spectrum, excuse me, we might showcase easier to use types of services, right? So those are elements of that as well.
Okay, great. We're just about at the end of our question queue here, and maybe I'll make a final call for questions if you have them. So Ryan, I mean, one question I had just from sort of viewing your presentation here was just wondering what some of the screens you were showing from Dynamics CRM were. Were those the upcoming customers enhanced customer service screens for sort of out-of-the-box Dynamics CRM there, or was that existing functionality?
Yeah, so you saw two different interfaces, right? The first was for the agent, and then the second one was for the manager. And start with the easy one. The manager one is CRM 2013, as it exists with some additional dashboards and configuration specific to this industry and this use case. But the other one that's a lot more interesting is the one for the agent. And so when we think about experience design at Avanade, we think about what it is we're going to present to a user that's going to achieve the expected result or beyond the expected result for the customer. And so to do that, in this example, we've got a solution that we've built that sits on top of the old CCA widgets, right, that were available for Microsoft, and sits on top of the upcoming Unified Service Desk component that's coming from Microsoft. And so while the Unified Service Desk from Microsoft is, provides a lot of benefits that CCA didn't in terms of how you configure the back end of the application, it has some configuration on the front, but what we add is a layer on top of that that allows you to skin it a lot differently and then interact with the different panels or components of the UI a lot differently. So it's in existence today, and it's deployed at a number of customers, and it looks different every time, but it's the same core solution.
All right, excellent. So a lot of different pieces that go into building a really comprehensive solution there. All right, well, one other question here, it's really, can this solution be integrated with other back-end solutions running in a company?
Well, I could answer that question with a question, right, because that's a big one. Might be tough for the chat, but yes, right, the short answer is even the Unified Service Desk, right, that Microsoft released, which we're building on top of for this latest iteration, right, is all about integrating different applications. And that's where, as a system implementer, or integrator, I'm sorry, Avanade really focuses our time, right, is certainly on the functional and experience design piece of it, but then in every every implementation that we do, there's an integration to where Microsoft Dynamics CRM is powering some of the experience, but you've got the ability to bring in applications in a front-end integration so that you're surfacing the right app at the right time and you're passing that context so you don't have to re-enter customer information or re-log in. And then you can do data integration in Dynamics as well, right, where you're just bringing in things like phone usage from a legacy application and pushing it forward, and the same thing in retail and healthcare and you name it.
All right, excellent. Well, I think we will start wrapping up here. So first, let me just say thanks again to Ryan and Annie for your session today, for presenting to us. I also want to say thanks to the audience, for everyone, for the great questions, for your attention today. I'm sure we had your full attention. No one was shopping for lawn supplies or anything like that. I do want to make just a small request. When you do leave the session, look for the survey that'll pop up. We really appreciate your feedback, hearing what you thought of the session and how the experience was in the webcasting platform and all that. So please do take 20 or 30 seconds to do that, if you wouldn't mind. And we'll start wrapping up here. So be on the lookout for plenty more CRM webcasts coming up in our spring series here. We've got a lot planned throughout April, May, into June. We really hope you can make it to more of the sessions. So thanks again, Ryan and Annie, and thanks to everyone for joining today.
Thanks, everyone.